Morning. Welcome to Friday. And that means it's tea time togetherness time. Yes. Take a minute, settle into this moment. It's been it's May. What? How did it get to be May? Okay, I'm gonna get a little closer. See, I started out far. I think I do this the last couple times. Anyways, hi. You may have noticed I've changed locations, sort of. We are still in the process of shuffling the house and getting everything organized between a move in, and I'm also moving a whole bunch of stuff to a new space, which I so am excited to share with you. Pictures soon, but not quite yet. I go today to look at what has transpired. The walls are painted. Still a couple of renos are happening to make sure that it is a space that I can offer you the most powerful space to shift your subtle energies for your transformations and for your naps. Because let's be real, healing sessions can be all about the nap. Some of them are a little more intense and you're just like there, but what happens during sleep time? Healing as well. I definitely am an avid dreamer. I can't actually remember the last time my dreams were not super there. I'm a very big lucid dreamer, and so I've been running two worlds for the last couple of months, this realm and then in my dream space, and so many templates laid and healings performed and upshifts. So many upshifts right now that it's pretty intense. And so I actually asked my partner, I was like, can I please have a Reiki session? I need a little bit of powering up myself. Because we have to take care of ourselves even when we're doing the work for others, especially when we're doing the work for others. Which I am so blessed to do, and it fills me. I get to do a session later today, which is a distance session, and last week I got to help somebody find their spark, and another person realize how far they've come in their healing space and in the things that pose challenges for them. So you may have noticed a little bit of change. I'd like to point out a couple of beautiful, I don't know how well you can see them, but some beautiful paintings. Mike Litt offers me some beautiful, beautiful stuff to adorn our area, which is going to be part of what I'm talking about today. One of my favorite books is all about how to change up your space to allow that flow. But what are we doing here today? Today's Tea Times Togetherness. I get very excited for this. So every week I pop on and I say hello, and we talk about different things from the spiritual realm, how that affects our lives, how we can integrate those into the modern realm, different ways we can integrate, different ways we can connect to the spirit realm as well, different things. And today's all about books. And I realized as I was going through my books that I've got so many that have influenced me, that I think this is going to become a regular thing. So once a month I'll pop on and it'll just be about books. Because if not, literally, let's see, I have 10 books sitting beside me. That's quite a few. And that was just my initial like, and then I looked at my other bookshelf and was like, oh, but I want to talk about you and I want to share about you. And what about you? So this is going to become, let's see, yeah, this is going to become once a month. That's what it is. So I will always let you know when it's coming. But wait, tea time togetherness, what's in my cup? If you are popping on, please say hello. If you're watching the replay, please also say hello. I would love to know that you are here so that we can interact a little bit. Because I'd love to know first, what is in your cup? In my cup today, something a little bit different. It called me from my cupboard of joy. I just realized we say a lot in our house, like the cupboard of doom or the hallway of doom, or we say doom a lot. But changing that, because it is, we're saying it in jest and joking, or like the hallway of chaos or whatever, but that kind of feeds that. So I think we're gonna switch that up. So anyways, cupboard of joy, which is all about my herbal cupboard. Today nettles was calling me quite strongly, and so in here is nettles, which is full of minerals. It's also very protective. It's really, really good if you think about it, pokiness, right? Skull cap to calm the nervous system, cooling. I've been like running. You might be able to see I've got some redness here, running quite a bit of heat and dryness in my body, and so I need that little bit of cooling to counteract as well the nettle, because nettle is pokey and like tick tick tick. And then rose. for the heart, and it's cooling and it's astringing. And then this honey, gotta talk about this honey. So we found this honey. We've been looking at it for a while. It's super high vibration, finer vibration, and you touch it, you're just like, whoa, intense. And it's heavily organic. I don't have the bottle with me right now. You might have seen it on the shelf. And one of them is neem. So it comes, and then there's a Himalayan acacia, Acacia, Himalayan honey, and then there's just the Himalayan honey. So the first off, it's being bee honey is amazing because it's processed through the bees, which are this super, super potent vortex is what's coming up to that other realm, and they translate the flowers, the medicine, through themselves into this honey. So this neem is already super potent. It's been used, there's some studies on it as a spermicide. There's also, it's super great if you're sick. It's good for skin, it's good for hair. You've probably seen it in toothpaste. It's good for your teeth, all of those things. So we had some of it yesterday, and I had a little bit in water throughout the day, and it's going to be a honey used just for intention, let's just say that. And today we opened up the Himalayan one, do we do the acacia, the regular Himalayan one, and so it's all the wildflowers. And they extract the honey in an ethical manner, not harming the bees or anything, and leaving them to be wild, right? And it's powerful. You can feel it. You can feel the vibration of where, like the Himalayas, basically, right? So yes, that is our new honey in this house. We have to actually go and get a local honey that doesn't start me downloading, or else I'm just going to be downloading every day. And right now, like I said, the templates are full. Not full, but the templates are happening at a rapid pace. That's in my cup. What's in your cup today? I would love to know. I'm always curious what other people are drinking and getting ideas. And who am I and why am I doing this? So my name is Hilary Raven Porter. I am an integrative healer and an ascension guide and mentor, and I draw upon various wisdoms within my toolkit to help you come into connection with your divine truth, with your pure expression, with that space where you feel completely heard and seen, because it is not covered with expectations, it is not covered with assumptions. It's just purely you. And you're able to express that, and you're comfortable and feel joyfully embodied as you. I draw from different things like esoteric acupuncture, Tamiana crystal healing, plant spirit medicine. I'm a spiritual intuitive, so a lot of channeled guidance from the 7 sisters, of which I am 8. That brings me so much joy, and every time I even think about this new space, because it's going to be a power center. Because the more that happens within that space, the more the power builds, the more the potency builds, the more the strength builds, the more the love builds within that space. I just finished my painting too. That's going to go up in the space. You can check out. Well, it might not be on my stories anymore. I'm going to have to check it out and post it there. It's my next piece in my series of We Are of the Stars. Okay, into the books. Which one shall I start with? I'm not going to go through all the ones I have here today. Don't worry. It's not going to be like a 3-hour talk on the 10 books I have. I'm going to look at some and see which ones draw me first. So the first one that actually draws me, this one was super potent for me. Potent is the word. Because they're potent. There's so much in so little. And it's so much strength, and there's so much knowledge, and there's so much wisdom, and there's so much guidance, nourishment, comfort. They're potent in their capacities. So this one, Autobiography of a Yogi from Paramahansa Yogananda. This one. So around 2008, I was in a car accident. It was a very intense car accident. We were very blessed that the vehicle that we were in was the type of vehicle that it was. It was a Honda Element, which not very comfortable to drive in. Seriously, the seat's not that comfortable. I'm a little glad my mom actually just traded that vehicle in for something else. But it was a saving grace for us because the body is so structurally sound. We were hit by a truck pulling a fifth wheel. a trailer, and it was going 60, speeding around the corner, 60 or 70, speeding around the corner, and we were stopped. And it was the way that the construction was set up, and we were the first thing they hit going full speed. And then we hit the car in front of us. And yeah, I left my body. I actually blacked out completely, and I left my body and came back to myself screaming and to somebody being, it's okay, trying to calm me down. One of the people that was a couple cars in front that did not get hit came back and was helping me out. And it took me, it completely left. 2 years later, I asked my mom to take me back to the site so I could collect my spirit because something felt disconnected. And so I had some healings done from a beautiful friend, Shauna, in a course we were taking, and all of a sudden all the trauma came out from where the seatbelt was and everything came out, and I was like, that's been what it is. My spirit has left. So what ended up happening after this car accident is I started having a lot of out-of-body experiences. I started having a lot of Kundalini, seizure-like activity. The doctors couldn't explain it. My senses, so I've had extrasensory perception my whole life, being able to see things, being able to hear things, like hear what I won't want to say for my friends. I didn't really have a lot of friends in elementary school because I was so different. But being able to hear and see and feel what they were feeling, being able to speak with the animals, being able to see all the little energies up in the sky, all of these things. But this accident cracked me open 100%. Like my neck whipped back and I had all these issues. So I started having these seizure-like activities. I would go to the hospital, they'd check me out. Nothing, right? Nothing that their monitors could pick up. No epilepsy, none of that kind of stuff. Then I saw this beautiful woman. I was referred to her many moons ago in my early 20s. I was on antidepressants. And when I had come off the antidepressants, it's very challenging. If you've been through this, you know that, yes, they're there and they're a tool. And at the time, I needed them. But they were continued on in my life once I no longer needed them. It was easier to stay on them than it was to get off of them. So eventually I was like, enough is enough. I don't need these anymore. They're no longer a tool, but now they are a crutch. And so I chose to get off of them, but my body was really challenging. So I was referred to this beautiful lady from a friend. My friend Leah referred me to Dr. Tanya G. So if you're in Vancouver and you are looking for an acupuncturist or somebody that can hold that space for you in all the ways that you need, she is a beautiful being, Dr. Tanya G, G-E-E. And so I was referred to her. After the car accident, I went back to her as well for the whiplash and everything. And she was like, she'd put a pin in, she'd put a needle in, and all of a sudden, back arch. I look like I'm in ecstasy, basically. It's like that post-orgasmic phase. And she's like, I have a book for you. Because I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't realize. I didn't know about Kundalini, really. I'd heard about it, sort of. And like Samdi, and like I dabbled in it, and I'd been dabbling in herbs, and I kept going in and then being scared and pulling back and being like, who am I to think that this is my path? Who am I to delve into this stuff, to be blessed with this? This is all worth, but I'm not good enough for this. Who's going to want to come see me? And at the time I was working as a banker. I was a mortgage underwriter and a union representative for years. But I was like, I was dying inside. It was good. It afforded me the life that I needed. It afforded me to get out of that space of poverty and start seeing my worth and my value, and to practice the skills and how to interact and how to talk with people on different levels, especially through the union level. But I was dying. And so I kept touching in, and my worth was not there. My self-worth was not there. So then the car accident, because the divine kept, when I look back, there was all these little points. She was like, hey, and like all these people that had come into my life, that I was like, no, 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 I'm too scared. I was too scared of the unknown. I was too scared of those realms. I didn't feel worthy of these realms. And so the divine was like, dude, you haven't been listening. Bam. The car accident cracked me open. I had no choice but to listen. So I'm on the table. Dr. Tanya's putting in pins. I am going into Kundalini. I'm going out of body. She's like, I've got this book for you. And this was the book she suggested. Because I didn't believe. I have this, you can't see it, but it's on my wall, and it says, sometimes your only available mode of transportation is a leap of faith. I didn't have that in me. I couldn't trust what I couldn't see, what I couldn't taste, what I couldn't touch at the time. Now I can see, I can taste, I can touch, I can feel all of these things. But back then, and even now, don't get me wrong, even now there's some things, because you reach a level and you're like, oh, okay, well this is what I know to be true. And then all of a sudden you're shown more and you're just like, is that real? Is this possible? Especially I live on quite a science mind and an other realm mind. I have both. I'm like a 50-50. So sometimes the science mind's like, meh, not possible, and I need proof. And other times it's like, everything is possible. And so I live between these two worlds, and it was very, very challenging for me at that time. I believed in these things on a certain level, but I didn't embody these things. To take that leap of faith over was very hard for me. So she suggested this book, and this book made me realize that stuff was, I'm totally gonna start crying. Made me realize that stuff is possible. It made me realize that there are other people out there that this stuff happens to, and we're all worthy of it. We are all divine vehicles for this. And some of us, it's this lifetime that it comes through. Others, it's another lifetime. We're all here in this lifetime for a reason, for whatever this purpose is. And this lifetime, this was my purpose. And this helped me realize that these things are possible. These things are real. These things happen. And the more we embrace it and the more we connect into it, the more powerful it becomes, the more easy it becomes. Easy in the sense of tuning into it, accessing it, allowing it. It's powerful stuff. And it's not, like I said, I've been having crazy dreams, and like my dream world is very, very powerful right now, and I've had all these templates being laid even in this realm. And there are challenges, because you're just like, it does influence how your life flows and gives, and the things and your energies. All I've been wanting to do is sleep, because I'm integrating all of these new things that are coming in. But it's easier because you're not fighting against it. It's like, I always kind of picture it like a standard car, right? You put it in gear, but your foot's on the gas, or how do I put this? You put it in gear, and then you're putting the gas down, you have to release. But if you don't release enough, you're kind of fighting against it, and you're like, and you're not actually moving forward, and you feel like this like tension. But then when you just let the ease happen, you move forward smoothly, right? So it's that sort of, less friction equals more smoothly. So, yes, book 1, Autobiography of a Yogi. It's a heavy book, looks small, but talks about like his life and the things he endured and the things he integrated, and just how he was blessed the way he was. Because we don't always know, especially in this culture. It's so easy to tune it out and cover it up, right? So this is one. Second one, give me one sec. Now my nose, you start to cry, and then all of a sudden your nose starts running, right? Yeah. Okay. This is the second book that's coming up, and you might be like, hey, what's going on? That's not a spiritual book, but we'll talk about that. You've probably heard of her, Marie Kondo, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Buy this book. So I've been a collector my whole life. I used to have jars and jars and jars of rocks in water, because I loved how the rocks looked. And I mean, rocks aren't the easiest thing to transport. I still have boxes of rocks. Excuse me, I actually have a box of rocks sitting below you right now, propping up my phone. Yes, now I do collect books. I had a moment there. I do collect books, which I've recently culled some of my books, but it's hard because these are things that I draw upon. Books, words. they've comforted me when I was a kid. Like I said, I didn't really have a ton of friends when I was in elementary school because I was different. So I turned to books. They offered me support. They offered me guidance. They offered me a way to escape. But they also offered me wisdom because I've always been a seeker of knowledge. I collect knowledge. I love new information. And I love mulling it over and being like, hey, and seeing the parallels between different wisdoms and the different things that I'm like, oh, wait, that pattern and that pattern, they match up, right? Seeing those things. So this one is important because it's realizing that we don't have to keep everything and purging things. I also love my clothes. It's true. I also have, you can see behind me, I have a wall of tinctures, and that's not, I have a whole cupboard full, and that is for my healing practice. I also have paints. I also have all my jewelry stuff. And there's certain things that, yes, they may not spark pure joy, but they are things and tools that I use on a regular basis. So it was learning to discern those things from the things that I was keeping just because, or emotional things. A lot of things that I would keep, not because I was using them or wearing them, but I was attached to the memory of them. So some tools, like one of the main tools I learned this a long time ago, not from this book, but if it was something that I was keeping for the emotional content, take a picture of it. Because then I could always look back at that picture of that thing. One thing that I did take a picture of, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I used to have this pair of shoes. And so I used to be a party kid, a rave kid, way back when I was like 16 to like 22 or whatever. And I had these pair of shoes that were with me through everything. And they were the perfect slip. They fit my feet like a glove. And they were just the best things ever. And I kept packing them around, but they were so trash, so dirty, so just falling apart. And I kept packing them and packing them and packing them. I don't even know. I think I was like 26 or 27 by the time I finally got rid of them. But I'd learned, like, just take a picture. And so now when I'm flipping through things, on my phone or on my computer, I see the picture and it takes me back to that time, but I don't have to carry around that actual item, right? There was other ways of looking at things and being like, hey, is this sparking joy in me, or is it a what if or a when? Oh, when this is happening in my life, I will use it. What if this happens in my life and I need this? That's different than when you look at it and you're just like, right? It sparks that joy. Another reason this book was so important is because to purge our spaces and to clear our spaces, it allows the flow of energy to happen. Because if you have a space where there's clutter everywhere, where there's piles of things everywhere, the energy can't flow. Right now, I don't even get me started on our hallway. But that's what's happening right now in our hallway. It's been like that for the last couple of weeks because I've been preparing for the space. Plus, we were moving and shuffling things around to get Derek's stuff in here. So yes, it has served its purpose for now, but if it was to stay like that much longer, it's going to drive me nuts. I can feel my energy going, ugh, and getting stuck, and it puts like pricklies, and it makes it so that your brain in the background, even though you're not conscious of it, your brain in the background has to process all those things, all that visual input that is coming in, as opposed to just a smooth, clean hallway or space. So my altar, that I have a few altars, but the altar behind me, you can see right now, there's hardly anything on this space. It's all in the one side, and this is all clear. And all my altars, when we were organizing everything, are very, very clean, and reorganized, wiped down, and they just opened up this sense of space. And we need that to be able to process. We need that to be able to let spirit in, to let ourselves in. Because then we don't have to. So if you think about it like painting, or you're doing something and you have to pull everything out every single time. It takes you an hour to pull everything out to even start the project. By the time the hour is up, half the time you're either like, okay, well, that's my time. Now I have to leave it out until next time, but then you have all this stuff piled. Or two, you're just done. You're like, I'm tired. Like I have to put it all away, because you may not have 3 or 4 hours to actually work on what you had to work on. But if it's there, you're able to work on it. So, but the thing is, I totally just like gapped out there for a second. Oh my goodness. I'm just like, and I'm thinking about painting and I have paints out right now. But if your brain, so if you have to pull everything out and process everything, before you can move on to the next step. Sometimes you're just done. You're just like done. You're like, okay, I pulled everything out. I'm about to go to work. I'm about to start on my project, but I'm kind of tired already. Like decision fatigue. And that's the same thing that happens when you have stuff everywhere. You don't have space to allow the stuff to flow, to come in, to for you to actually be creative, for you to actually connect into the pure energies, because it has to like process through all this other clutter that is happening. So to have your outside space organized, clear, aligned with where you are takes a weight off of your brain, takes a weight off of your spirit, off of your heart, and allows the flow. And I highly suggest this book. Why do I suggest this book? There's lots of organizing books out there. I love this book because, well, one, I found something in here. So what else I love about books, sometimes you find little sheets. You are not your bra size, nor are you the width of your waist, nor are you the slenderness of your calves. You are not your hair color, your skin color, nor are you a shade of lipstick. You are no amalgam of these things. You are the content of the character. You are the ambitions that drive you. On and on. You are beautiful not for the shape of the vessel, but for the volume of the soul it carries. I love finding those little things. So this talks about, does it spark joy? And then it also talks about the direction in which to go through your things. Don't start with your emotional items. Don't start with your pictures or your papers. Start with things like your clothes. And then she also talks about how to fold these things and how to organize them. She also talks about pulling everything out. Tell me how much you've gone into your closet and just been like, oh yeah, this and this and this, and then you just shuffle everything else. Well, she talks about pulling everything out. You may have seen my stories post a couple months ago, and I'd pulled everything out of my closet, everything out of my drawers, all my clothes. So you take out all the one item type of item, all my clothes. My whole living room floor was covered. I was like, I don't have that much stuff. Covered. Pull out everything from the kitchen when we organized it. The floor of the living room, covered. My kitchen's not that big. And it shows you, okay, do I need 4 of these? Do I need 3 of these? When was the last time I even looked at that? Because it just kind of gets buried. You're like, oh, I have the space to store it. Why don't I? No. So that one has actually been very poignant in my spiritual path. And I've always been an organizer and reshuffling of things, but this has helped me release the things. Because we get this attachment to things, right? I'm actually dealing with an attachment to pants right now because they were shrunk in the wash, and very emotional, and it's just a pair of pants. So taking a look at that within myself recently. Which is the other one that's coming up? I think we're probably yeah, do one more. I don't even know what time it is. Yeah, let's do one more. Okay, this book, The Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. Let's see, it's got the light reflection. I love this cover. This was one of those books. So sometimes books come into our lives and we don't even realize that they're why we're picking them up. Or we're like, oh, I'm really drawn to this book. How many times have you moved and had a book follow you? And each time you're about to move, you're like, I haven't read this yet. I should get rid of it. But you just can't bring yourself to get rid of it. I'm a firm believer that books come into our lives when they need to, but doesn't mean we're reading them at that time. They've come into our sphere of knowledge, possibly into our sphere of possession, but it doesn't mean it's the time. So I have another book that I have down here. I got that when I was early 20s. I was drawn to it. I don't like the title, but I was drawn to it. You Are Psychic. I was drawn to this book. Picked it up when I was in my early 20s. It followed me around. You know when I finally picked it up? So I'm almost 40. I finally picked it up to read it and actually read through it and do it because there's activities in there. Power-ups, as I like to call them. A year ago. 19 years later. After approximately 19 years later, I finally read it, and it's been following me around ever since, but every time I went to get rid of it, I couldn't, because it was meant for me, but it was the time that it needed to wait for that moment when I was ready for it, right? We were talking about this one. This is one of those books. That's what I'm also referring to. This book I picked up. So I used to work at Chapters. Not a good idea. I mean, great because I would get all these free books, but also not great because I would buy all these books because I'd be going around and I have lists. I don't even know where they are. I think I purged them when I did my big clean out of just books that I was like, I want that one and that one and that one because all these new books are coming in at the same time. So this book I was really drawn to it. So it's a really beautiful book. So it goes by the date. Maybe I'll look up today. Today's the 3rd. Yeah. It goes by, it has one for each day, but they're not like the day, so it's not for a specific year. You can read through the whole thing. So it has the day. It has like what it's kind of about. It has a little phrase, a little poem sometimes, and then it has him talking about it, and then it has an activity. What's so amazing about this book, why I'm drawn to this book is that whenever I need comfort or I'm just like, okay, I just need some support or to know I'm not alone or I need something to focus on. I'm feeling scattered. I pick up this book. I haven't actually read through it. I had the intention of reading it every single day for a year. Instead, it's shown up in the way of, I need some support today. I'm going to read what today says. So let's take a look and see May 3rd. I'll show you an example. And every single time I've done it that way, so popcorn reading it, only reading it as I needed it and for the day, it has always related to what is going on in my life at that time and offered me guidance and given me some ease. Oh, here we go. You ready? May 3rd, our male and female energies. As it does no good to harvest if we can't eat, it does no good to act if we can't feel. There is so much talk these days of masculine and feminine energies and how we've been taught to be one-sided in how we engage the world. I believe most of it to be true. When we are dominated by our male side, over rational and stoic, never showing our feelings, our feminine side, our deeper, creative, receptive energies, become strident and stifled, explosive when finally allowed to surface. Not surprisingly, those who are contained and guarded, male or female, are somewhat frightened by those who are intuitive and expressive, just as those who are more readily impacted by what they feel find the unexpressive get quite suffocating. Of course, we find each other, and the stoics grow nervous while the passionate sweat more. This is part of life. We find each other and pull. The spinning ever want the still to spin. The quiet hush the drums. The crazed are ever fated to entice statues to dance. We also struggle with these energies inside ourselves. My own experience has been quite telling. As a man who has always been quite active and decisive, I have also, as a poet, been deeply guided by the feminine, directed inwardly by the intuitive life of feeling. But clearly in the outer world, I was well schooled in being practical, taught never to linger in my feelings long. It is only after 10 years of surviving cancer and a life of overachievement that I've stumbled in and out of joy. In becoming more integrated, more a single wave of masculine and feminine, I can see that I'm learning to use my male energies differently, more in concert with my feminine. Where I was taught to understand and name things, I now experience and feel things. Where I was taught to frame and articulate things at arm's length, I now embrace and absorb what is before me. This framing and naming at arm's length is part of how we have all been encased since childhood in a masculine way of seeing things. Or of seeing that out of balance is dry and uninformed by any passion for life. The difference is between painting a bird and flying, between understanding the secret positions of love and feeling your heart pound. Too often, under the guise of being asked to be prepared and mature, we are seduced into watching over living, into naming over feeling, into understanding over experience. Yet, as two hands cup water to the mouth, we need both female and male energies to drink full of this life. And once again, it totally fits. How does this fit in your life? How are your male and female energies? I know I tend to be more, throughout my life, more on the masculine side of the rational arm's length. Not embracing my feminine. I became very feminized at a very early age, maturing very early in my life, physically, and that scared me because I was young and very much harassed about it, and it was easier to just put myself at a distance than let myself get close to people that would then hurt me. And so this has been a very big lesson in my life to embrace that softness. Having my kidlet was a huge lesson in embracing that softness and just holding that space and letting it be what it was without trying to fix it, right? Offering the support system and just holding. So then he gives a little exercise. Center yourself and breathe slowly. Place one hand before you, palm up, and meditate on all this hand contains: nerves, blood, memory, the power to lift and touch. Meditate on how complete this hand is unto itself. Place your other hand before you now, palm up, and meditate on all that it contains and how complete it is unto itself. Breathe deeply and bring both of your hands together and meditate on how much more is possible when both completenesses work together. Your feminine and your masculine. Well, feminine and your masculine. So that is why I love that book. It also gives something to think about, to ponder, to let run in the background or the foreground as you are going throughout your day. Because when we are introspective, when we look within ourselves, instead of just letting our habits pass us by, it's like that's just the way I've always been. That is how we grow. That is how we become fuller versions of ourselves. That is how we become the more loving versions of ourselves. That is how we connect to our truth. Yeah. So it's 3 books today. We're going to do this again next month. Because I have books that I love to share. And there are ways for you to connect into spaces within yourselves at a time that you feel comfortable, because sometimes it doesn't come upon us where we're like, I want to do the work right now. Or we want something to read and we want to expand our consciousness, but at our own pace at a certain time or between sessions. If we have regular sessions with people and we're just like, yeah, but what about the in-between phase? Kind of like the homework in between, but not homework, because it doesn't, whenever I hear the word homework, it feels like, and you go back to school and you're like, I have to do it. Well, no, this is something you're choosing to do because you can't wait to be that fuller version of yourself. Okay. That is all for today. Thank you for joining me. If you're popping on and watching the replay, I would love to hear what book you currently have on the go, because I need more. Fiction's also welcome. I am actually looking for a fiction book right now. I have a couple staring at me. I will just suggest one right now for you, but I'll talk about it later. The Traveler. Don't let the cover fool you. The Traveler by John 12 Hawks. If you're looking for a fiction book, there you go. There's a series of 3 for that, and it's, yeah. Because some books, some books, if you, well, are enjoyable for everybody, or most people, right? They offer this sense of joy. But if you're connected in a certain way, they will actually create shifts in your life. So words have that potential and that power within them. How they are strung together, as well as the concept behind them, actually triggers changes within you. And that is one of them. Okay, so much love and stardust. It's time to get about my day. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear. Mwah! Have an excellent weekend and happy Beltane. Bye for now.